It's two sides of the same coin. Moraine, Nynaeve, and Lan plot to rescue Perrin and Egwene, who are facing a grim fate and need to be rescued.
Hello and welcome again to the Doctors Who podcast. My name is Chris.
My name is Chip.
My name is Brian.
And today we are covering chapters 37 and 38. I got it right this time.
Woo!
And this, I think overall, like these two chapters really wove the story of, rescuing Perrin very well because you got it from two separate sections. So I'm excited to see what the two of you think about it, and maybe you're excited to know what I think too. Why don't we find out?
I thought these two chapters are a lot of fun, and after what we have, like 10 Rand Mat chapters in a row, and now we finally get a break and we get to catch up with everybody else. But I like the way Jordan sets it up with, from Nynaeve's point of view, kind of the plot to go in and, do this distraction and rescue Perrin and Egwene. And then on the flip side, like Brian said, it's the two sides of each coin. Then we get Perrin's point of view with Perrin and Egwene, getting tortured and getting drug along, getting blamed that, the Whitecloaks are traveling so slow because, they don't have enough mounts to ride them because of the wolves. And, so they've got to make them walk, and they've got to get so far, and they're just not making any progress, and it's all Perrin's fault. And, so then everything starts to happen. And I don't think I caught this the first time I read it, but just kind of those interactions between Nynaeve and Lan are very interesting, kind of knowing where ultimately that leads for the people that have read it, and hopefully it doesn't spoil. But they have a lot bigger relationship as the books go on, and it's very well done. But the seeds that are planted here, are so well done as they're kind of just getting to know each other and developing this mutual respect. And I just picture this gigantic man, Lan. I don't know how big he is, but he's much bigger because Nynaeve is supposed to be tiny, like maybe like 5 foot tall, and just this tiny woman, but she's a very strong person as well. So just kind of the interaction between those two is a lot of fun, and just seeing those seeds getting planted here is interesting.
Yeah, Chip, I agree with pretty much all of that. It really was an interesting couple chapters, like very, very gripping. It was really hard. Originally, we had talked about cutting it off after the first of these two, and I'm glad that we ended up adding the second one because they fit so well together. We get to see Nynaeve in action. Up until this point, all of the action with Nynaeve has been through dialogue, or it's been through kind of behind the scenes, her tracking the group as they leave Emond's Field. But we get to see how she feels, and from her point of view, what's going on. It just is a different type of writing, and I think it's great. But these two by themselves really, it almost is written like a really good drama TV show or a good drama movie where, like it just builds and then you kind of take a step back and then it builds, and it has such hateable characters. I love to hate Byar. He is without a doubt the most punchable guy that we've met so far this book. And just the Whitecloaks in general drive me nuts, but in a good way, because actively cheering for Perrin and Egwene to get out of there because it was rough. But we could talk more about this at the end, but I really do enjoy the closing scene to where Perrin and Lan were talking kind of like post-battle recap, and Perrin's like, I know. Okay. It's just a great ending. I love the ending too. So, good chapters.
So, yeah, I think getting to see Nynaeve kind of like doing her thing in this chapter and like sneaking in and like cutting the horses free, so when Moraine creates her distraction, they will like be running all over. I really like how Lan's like, if you're half as good as I think you are, they won't even see you. But the other part of that is we get to see Lan when everything starts to go down, and he like sneaks up, and Perrin just like sees him take these two Whitecloaks out, and just how he handily dispatches Child Byar. It's so cool. I love badass Lan. And to your point earlier, Chip, it's like I almost think of him like in my mind he's kind of built like a toned, muscular Jonathan Frakes. Like just the very broad shoulders and like the tall, only Jonathan Frakes probably isn't very quick, and I feel like Lan is very fast and deadly. But I think my favorite part of both of these sections is probably at the very end after they've escaped the Whitecloak camp. Two things happen. Nynaeve wants to heal Perrin from the beating he took on the Whitecloaks, and her gasping when he takes off his shirt and she sees all the bruises. But when she applies her herbs and her medicines, like his bruises dissipate immediately. And we know that Nynaeve can channel. So my inclination is that is not just the herbs. That this is actually her using the power to heal somebody she cares about. Because if you think back to her conversation with Moraine, that was kind of the first way she touched the one power was, somebody she cared about. I think it might have been Egwene with a fever. She was afraid she's going to die, but the second part is the revelation about Perrin's eyes, how they've gone gold, and Nynaeve is like, it's not yellow fever because this and this would be happening, and like Moraine just like looks at him. She's like, oh, okay, got it. So, but yeah, to kind of lead to that chat where Lan sits down with Perrin and they talk and they discuss Elias, and it was a good moment. It was like Lan actually like recognizing that Perrin was struggling with this, and he's like, you know what, pal, it'll be okay. So yeah, the very ending there, that was probably my favorite part because of those two things.
I like that through that moment too, we get to learn a little bit more about Elias when Lan says, well, did this happen, were you by yourself, or did somebody, help you through it? Or did you meet somebody? And he says, oh, I met, a man named Elias. And he's like, oh, so Lan knew him. Apparently, Elias trained Lan on some level, when they were both warders, and then the Red Aja kind of ran Elias out of town. And you think that Whitecloaks are bad. Wait till you get to see more of the Red Aja,
Yeah.
But anyway, I like that little moment. And what I liked about that too is Lan, he got down on Perrin's level and they were just sitting down. And when Perrin was saying, that, Nynaeve and Moraine were talking to him, but they were talking past him and they were like looking over him, and Lan just sat down, looked him right in the eye and said, I know this is what's going on, and here's what I know. And they had that good conversation at the end. So that was a great moment.
Another thing that just like the way like Perrin recalled how Byar was just calmly recounting all of the things that they were going to do to Perrin, right? And that just kind of made my skin crawl. I'm just like, oh. So yeah.
Now, did you kind of get the feel? Thought I wanted everyone else's take. Do you think that Byar wanted them to like release themselves from their chains, and then he could kill them as an act of defiance? Like, did everyone else get that, or was that just me? Do you think he was actually saying you can go, or do you think he was actually trying to get them to attempt an escape?
I think it was a setup.
Yep. Byar doesn't have a decent bone in his body, so there's no way he's going to be generous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do like that when Lan takes him out, though, and Perrin's first question is basically, did you kill him? Is he dead? And Lan says, no, I do not kill unless I mean to, but he won't bother anyone for a while.
If I would have been Perrin, I would have been like, could you please?
Yeah.
Right?
Asshole.
Yeah, but you can't create an asshole character like that and not allow him to come back at some point.
Right.
Yeah.
You got to have a good villain.
Yeah, it's like
And it's
Joffrey.
like the Dark One's a villain, but you got to have real villains all the way through it.
Yeah.
And there's some more to come.
Yeah, like Joffrey from Game
Children
of
are just-
Thrones, or
yeah.
what was the other guy's name?
Game of
Ramsay.
Thrones. Oh, Ramsay
Yeah.
Bolton.
Yeah. Speaking of terrible people. Anyway, yeah. Chip, did you mute yourself again? I can't hear you.
I must have.
Okay, you're back. Good, Jill. I was like, you're talking, but no sound is coming out. Let's not repeat this.
Oh, hope not.
It was, honestly, this might have been my favorite 2-chapter series so far, this book. Like, there was, I mean,
I can see that.
I like dialogue, I like world building, but I really like a good kind of action adventure.
And we really haven't had much action since they fled Shadar Logoth, have we? I mean, not.
We had that little bit with Tom in Whitebridge, but it was
That's true. That was a
pretty
quick scene.
short. Yeah.
But a lot of it's just moving the characters to get to Caitlin and.
Well, and also in a novel, it can be very difficult to actually write a good action sequence. And he absolutely succeeds. So, and then
Now,
go ahead.
oh, I was kind of curious. The other thing I had in my notes was, do you think so? Pretty much it was, wait for the signal, whole bunch of lightning from the sky, like crazy lightning, and then that's when they made their escape. And as that first chapter, was it 37, ended, Nynaeve was also saying, please just let the sign happen now. Please let the sign happen. And then it happened. Do you suppose there was any sort of coincidence that Nynaeve might have also used or touched the one source here as well? Or do you think it's just coincidence that Moraine just happened to unleash her fury at that particular second?
I'm not sure. I haven't considered that.
I don't want to answer it without spoiling things, but I know Nynaeve has some difficulty touching the source, so if it was a subconscious thing, I could believe that, but I tend to think it was mostly Moraine.
Okay.
But I don't know.
So there are two things outside of the things I mentioned earlier at the end of this that are kind of interesting as the party's leaving. One is Moraine is convinced that the boys are either close to or in Camelin, the boys being Rand and Matt. And the second, as they're all leaving, Dapple kind of like sends to Perrin saying, "One day again," which I assume means, well, you've not seen The Last of Us. This isn't over. You still have part of your journey with us to go. So
that was good, and I liked how Dapple had a part to play too when Byar was, kind of tempting Perrin with this thought. If you were to, fray your ropes and escape,
and help comes.
Would be one lesson. And then Dapple, basically sends this message that help is coming. And then Perrin gets this kind of look like, oh, and then he thinks Byar can read what he's doing, and he's like, oh, Byar has no idea what I just learned, and and then when Lan was doing the kind of scouting of the camp, and he said, I saw 2 wolves. I think he said he saw 2, and he's like, knowing that there's 2, that means that there's more out there. I don't know what they're doing here.
It's like
but
they wanted me to see them. So I wanted to touch really quickly on
the One True Source.
No. But what Lan told Perrin about being able to commune with the wolves, because I think he summarized it really well. And not just that, but also like what the pattern's doing. Because Perrin's concerned that it's something the Dark One did, and Lan says, not in itself, no. Some believe it is, but they're wrong. It was old and long lost before the Dark One was found. But what of the chance involved, Blacksmith? Sometimes the pattern has a randomness to it, to our eyes at least. But what is the chance that you should meet a man who would guide you in this thing, and you one who could follow the guiding? The pattern is forming a great web, what some call the lace of ages, and you lads are central to it. I don't think there is much chance left in your lives now. Have you been chosen out then, and if so, by the light or by the shadow? So this kind of goes back to what we talked about with Rand and Loyal about Ta'Veren as well, right? So everybody seems to be talking and thinking the same thing, but Loyal is the first one that's really voiced the term for it.
Yep.
So, yeah. I don't know. I'm looking forward. It's been a long time since I've reread this. It's probably been close to 7 years, so I don't recall the sequence of events that happens in the rest of the book, like what order things happen. So I'm excited to keep reading and kind of revisit it.
Yeah, I remember, and it's been a lot longer since I've read it, but I just remember some of the big things with, we know Loyal talked about the ways, but that he wouldn't have mentioned that if we weren't going to get there at some point. So, and they still have to get to the Eye of the World.
And more centrally, Caemlyn.
Yeah.
First Caemlyn, then from there we got to get everybody back together, and that seems to be coming up soon.
Yeah. All right. Well, once again, thank you for joining us. We are probably about 75% through the book at this point. So I think we are coming into the last stretch. I expect a lot is going to happen. So continue to stick with us until we get to the end, and we'll enjoy that together. If you enjoyed this video, please click the like button. Also, consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell so that when we post new content, you get notified. And lastly, please utilize the comment section. We love to have a conversation and a dialogue with all of you. So that is the best medium to do that. And if you have some money burning a hole in your pocket, I say that jokingly, we do have a Patreon, and while we know that everybody has a need for the money that they make, if you choose to spend some of your money to help support us to make our show better, that would be something that we would be forever grateful for. So that link is down below. You can check out the tiers and the perks, including some behind-the-scenes content, early access to episodes, as well as some physical swag. So all of those things are in the description. We will see you next time, and we will maybe get to Caemlyn and see what is going on. Until then,
Alonzi.